Lots of rumblings out there about DC Comics Absolute Universe, which we've known about for months at this point. They're also talking about DC All In, the next big initiative from DC Comics to get you back into their shared superhero universe that no one cares about. And things are getting worse and worse and worse for DC Comics. And I didn't think it was possible. They've got one character that consistently sells in the top 20. And thankfully it's Batman, so it's normally a top 5 book. And we actually had a Batman book outside of the top 20. Absolutely insane stuff going on. We had Absolute Power, the big event led by Mark Waid, industry legend Mark Waid. Dan Mora, certainly one of the best artists in the entire industry right now, did not fare well. Sales were actually right in line with Blood Hunt on issue number 3. So they didn't even get like the first issue pop. This thing is going to fall faster than you can possibly imagine. I don't know how DC Comics got here. Well, I do know. Dan Didio quit. They put nobody of note in charge that had any idea how to actually run a publisher. They allowed themselves to be taken over by terrible editorial, and now they have essentially no popular characters to speak of outside of Batman. Batman is literally the only thing keeping DC Comics head above water. And if we're looking at the sales data that we do have from the Comics Hub app reported by ICBDO.com, DC Comics are what they say in England, proper fucked. They've got nowhere to go but up. This is why they're revamping the line. This is why they're going to try and recreate the Ultimate Universe, which has done magical things for Marvel Comics at least twice at this point. And hopefully Scott Snyder and company can bring some type of energy, enthusiasm, any type of popularity associated with any DC characters, because they just don't have the writers and stories and anything positive going on right now. Let's get right into some of these numbers that we do have and the bad news for Batman. In fact, in June of 2024, and these dates actually go out to 6 July. So this actually includes the first release week of July from Comic Hub, reported by ICV2.com. There are 3 Batman issues in the month: Batman 148, Batman 149, and Batman 150. Typically, Batman is a top 2 or 3 selling comic book. But right now, it's basically been annihilated by Marvel Comics' Ultimate line, including Spider-Man, the Ultimates, Ultimate X-Men. The only one that isn't really outselling Batman at this point is Ultimate Black Panther. Although I do expect Ultimate X-Men to lose some luster because it's not a very good book. But there's a third Batman issue, 150, that actually came out in that first week of July that's covered in this. And it's actually at number 26, and it's an Absolute Power tie-in. These are frightening numbers for DC Comics. We haven't seen a decrease in popularity on Batman quite like this until maybe like Batman 55, 56, right there, when everyone realized after the wedding that never happened on Tom King's run that it was amongst, if not the worst Batman runs of all time, and people just stopped buying it, even if they loved Batman. That's where they basically gotten with Chip Zdarsky's Batman run. And I was out there championing the arrival of Chip Zdarsky with Jorge Jimenez on art. And I was like, hey, with what Chip has done on Daredevil and some of his other books out there, like The Invaders, you know, and Spectacular Spider-Man, at least after that first volume, Chip Zdarsky, I think, is the right guy for the title. He's an up-and-coming creator that I do think can do something with Batman that will get fans to buy in and really enjoy the series. I could not have been more wrong. I still maintain that the opening salvo of Failsafe, while he was certainly overpowered, was at least interesting. It was at least something worth going and reading Batman for. And then he rode that rocket body essentially from space through Earth's atmosphere and landed on his feet at the Fortress of Solitude. And you're just like, all right, we might have jumped the shark here. He sends him to like an alternate universe, comes back in time, I guess after Night Terrors for Gotham War right after that, which is likely the worst Batman event of all times. We kind of get back on track after that with Failsafe returning. Unfortunately, the Zur-En-Arrh stuff is still there and becoming even more important. But at least it was doing something that maybe was going to go somewhere, and then it just did nothing. It just became really, really stupid. You had to believe or buy into so many concepts that were just completely fucking retarded. That's the best way to describe it. We've already seen a robot take out the entire Bat family and the Justice League and Superman. Yet people are going to believe that robot Batman is the real Batman. They're not going to think maybe this is the robot that's already defeated us. And you have to believe that Vandal Savage would somehow become the police commissioner of Gotham and all these just stupid, absolutely dumbass concepts that Batman, I guess, would mess with Jason Todd's mind to give him some inner peace. Never went anywhere with that. We cut his hand off for no reason whatsoever. And it does appear that DC Comics have realized the writing is on the wall for Chip Zdarsky and Batman. He's rich again. He's got his family back. He got his arm back because he took it from a clone, and all these just stupid happenstance things. And they're building Pennyworth Manor and trying to put all the toys back in the toy box before someone else takes over. And then Batman 150, which is awful. Not as bad as Gotham War, but it's right there with it. It was just... It felt like Chip Zdarsky saying goodbye. This is a failed run, and it's killed interest in Batman. It's not even a top 5 selling comic book. In fact, Batman 150, which was a tie-in to Absolute Power, ended up being outside the top 20 at 26, which is just, it's something you don't see with Batman because he has that staying power. He has that cachet with comic book readers that even when it's bad, for the most part, they kind of stick around. Unless you're Tom King bad, which I do consider Chip Zdarsky's run to be Tom King bad, and then they vacate. DC Comics obviously were planning on Absolute Power being a foundational element to whatever DC All-In is going to be, and certainly the Absolute Universe, where they're going to introduce the concepts and the origins of this Absolute Universe. We're going to get Absolute Batman, Superman. We kind of already talked about this here on the channel. Well, these numbers aren't good either. Absolute Power, an enormous event featuring Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman, every major hero in the DC Comics universe losing their powers, with Amanda Waller taking over and creating amazo versions of all the heroes and stealing the Brainiac Queen and Failsafe and all that kind of stuff. It's the big summer event, right? The big thing that's going to get people at DC Comics, or at least DC Comics fans, excited. Didn't crack the top 10 on a number 1 issue. This is shockingly bad. We've seen DC events not perform well in the past, but this particular event is supposed to be a showstopper. It's not crisis level, but it's pretty damn close. It's supposed to be a Blackest Night type of event. It's supposed to be a Dark Knight's Metal type of event. That's supposed to be a game changer and get people excited for DC Comics. That did not happen. Even the Ground Zero issue, which was supposed to lead into this, nobody cared. Nobody believes in DC Comics. They actually did things to lead up to Absolute Power if you're buying into it. Me personally, I'm not reading it because I don't want to support Mark Waid. I don't believe that's even the majority of why this thing is not performing up to standard that DC Comics and most shops, I imagine, believe that it should. There are some people out there like me that refuse to support Mark Waid, but I think there are so many DC Comics fans that are tuned out because they just don't like the state of the universe. They don't like Chip Zdarsky's Batman. They hate Ram V's Detective Comics. They don't like what they're doing in Action Comics outside of the House of Brainiac stuff. Nobody asked for Gail Simone on Action Comics. You know, Josh Williamson is doing fine on Superman. The sales have gone up. But Wonder Woman, despite the sales going up there, and they almost had to because Clunrad was out of the top 100 on one of the Trinity books. Sales are up with Tom King, but the story is awful. So if you're an actual DC fan and not a Tom King fan, it's an enormous turnoff. There's not a Flash book worth reading right now. There's no Justice League book. There's not an Aquaman book. There's a good Green Lantern book. And outside of Josh Williams and Superman, that's really all that you get in continuity that's actually worth reading. They had a good Flash book. They killed that when they put Josie Campbell on it. They had a good Flash book. They killed that when they put Cy Spurrier on it and removed Jeremy Adams. They had a good Shazam book. They killed that when they had to remove Dan Mora and Mark Waid to put them on Absolute Power and hopefully do some type of big numbers with events. That didn't happen. Now you got Josie Campbell on Shazam and nobody cares. You've got Leah Williams on a Power Girl book that nobody is reading and no one's paying attention to. You have a second Green Lantern book that I think is actually pretty decent and worth your while. Nobody's checking out, unfortunately. Green Lantern War Journal, despite being pretty good, no sales really associated with it. There's nothing hot for DC Comics right now, and an event was never going to fix that. Their problem isn't the amount of large scale events that they're not putting out. They're already doing too many of those. We had Beast World already this year. Was Gotham War this year? I think it was. We've already had House of Brainiac. Now we're going to Absolute Power. Then we'll get to whatever event that's going to kick off All In and the Absolute Universe and all this kind of stuff. Event fatigue is real. What DC Comics have to do is get back to basics, get back to the characters, why people love them, and then go explore that stuff. Taking everything everyone associates with Batman away from him because you don't like rich white guys, not exactly the perfect route for that one. Taking away Wally West's family once again and putting him into some nightmare book did not work for Flash. Having Wonder Woman be some type of rebel that's fighting the United States of America for no reason whatsoever has not worked out when it comes to people buying into the DC Comics universe. And it's just a mishmash of a bunch of bullshit written by a lot of people that are not earning their paychecks right now. That's basically the bottom line. But the problem is nobody at DC Comics cares that Chip Zdarsky's not earning his paycheck. They don't care that Ram V is fucking up They don't care that Ram V is fucking up Detective Comics. They don't care, about what Tom King is doing to Wonder Woman. They don't care about what Cy Sprayer is doing to The Flash. They just don't care. As long as you get the book out on time or relatively close to it, that's the minimum standard right now, is just get it done. No matter if it's good, if people like it, if it's a story that people want to invest in. There's no reason to support DC Comics, and this is how they got themselves into this predicament where people are far less interested in Batman today than they were even a year ago. People aren't buying into their big event, Absolute Power, that's supposed to be Blackest Night. It's supposed to be Dark Knight's Metal. It's supposed to be something that galvanizes an entire fan base around it being, oh my goodness, look at this. This is cool. Everyone said, nah, doesn't look cool to me. I don't care if the first issue was good anyway. And I've certainly heard contradicting opinions on whether or not Absolute Power 1 was even worth reading at this point. Now, it's not all terrible news just for DC Comics. We ended up getting some bad news from Marvel as well. Obviously, they've got a big event coming out. It's called Blood Hunt. It's over 60 issues. And you can see the third issue that came out during this reporting period comes in at number 17, actually underneath Absolute Power number 1, but it is a number 1 issue and should get the bump. But you'll see right above it, you have Blood Hunt Red Band number 3. The Red Band comic book is outselling the regular comic book. For all of you people that are going to be pissing and moaning about Marvel Comics doing interior variant covers, and you bought this is all your fault. You are the reason that we're going to be getting interior variant pages from Marvel Comics and certainly DC Comics in the not too distant future for years upon years because you bought in and fed into this fucking stupid idea. Variant covers weren't enough. We need variant interiors. My goodness. And look at that, outselling Blood Hunt, the main issue, the main event with the Avengers and Blade and all this kind of stuff was Wolverine Blood Hunt number 1, which I will freely admit is the best book going on in Blood Hunt. Wolverine Blood Hunt absolutely kicks ass. Tom Waltz is awesome. Really enjoying the art in that book as well from Juan Jose Reap. Not quite the best art I've ever seen by him, but it's still very good. And it's just Wolverine laying out vampires on the regular. It's a fun book. There's a lot of good stuff to read. You know what's not fun? Blood Hunt. It's just so generically boring. And they killed off Moon Knight just to resurrect him in the event 2 months later. Jed McKay. I don't know why people bought into this guy. He made one good series, Moon Knight, and then he managed to fuck that up. His Avengers is blasé, boring, milquetoast, lame. His Doctor Strange had one good story arc with General Strange. Everything else is filler nonsense. He did that Taskmaster book. Go read that. That is on the level of a Steve Orlando. That's how bad his writing has been in the past. And I don't know why people think this dude's a superstar. X-Men number 1 comes out this week. Here, spoiler warning. It's fucking boring. And you're not going to be excited about it. But, DC is certainly in far more trouble than Marvel Comics is right now, but nobody's buying into Marvel Comics events. I don't think Venom War, despite being a Venom event, normally those are really popular, I don't think it moves the needle. People don't care about events. They care about interior variant pages, apparently. Oh my goodness. We're going to have to put up with this bullshit. And hey, I say do your own thing, but don't bitch about it when they go all in on variant interior pages because you decided you needed the red band version to fill out your collection or whatever. This is going to be a fucking plague on the entire comic book industry. First, DC is going to do it. Then Image is going to do it. And then IDW is going to do it. And then Boom's going to do it. And everybody's going to be like on, well, fuck this, man. I never asked for variant interior pages. Yes, you did. When you bought the stupid fucking Blood Hunt red band fucking comic books. That's exactly what you asked for, you dipshits. I get it. There's completionists out there and you want your collections to have everything. But you basically screwed yourselves over in the long run because Marvel, DC, and everyone else is going to bend you over and take it out of your wallet raw, giving you variant interior pages from now until fucking ever because you actually bought into this stupid, dumb-ass gimmick to make you pay for the same comic book twice. And you fell for it again. So you do your own thing, but don't blame anyone else but yourself because you actually bought it hook, line, and sinker. My goodness, I can't believe that. That shit just, it grinds my gears. How's that one? That grinds my gears, and it's going to be a thing now. Thanks a lot, dumbasses. But I still love you. We all are allowed to make mistakes. I just think this one is a mistake on a monumentally high level that you have not realized yet, because we are not getting rid of this anytime soon now because it was popular. Oh my goodness. Now that I'm done with that rant, if you would like more rants and coverage of comic books in a longer format and you aren't supporting the channel on Thank You Critical Patreon, I do think you should reconsider. Go check it out. There's a free trial period right now on all 3 tiers. There's a link in the video description. I think if you check it out, that you're going to stick around because we've got lots of awesome podcasts on the Patreon.